Hello, this is Ernie Solis with AE Teaching, and today I'm going to be going over some advice and some tips I have about giving classes. The first thing that of course is the most important is the first class that we have with a new student. We definitely want to prepare ahead of time for the material that we're going to be working on, so always make sure to text the student. You'll want to send them a WhatsApp. They often don't respond to email very quickly. And you may have to resend the same WhatsApp message like the next day because they may not respond immediately. But I always ask them, like, what do you want to go over in the first class? What do you want to do in the first class? These types of things so that they can tell you. So maybe they'll say, you know, in math, I'm doing trigonometry, for example. And so then you'll open up the book and maybe Revision Village or ExamMate and go through some of the trigonometry problems from that section to make sure that you're comfortable with the material and know how to do it. Revision Village is really a great resource because it has a lot of videos, so we'll look at that and hopefully you'll be able to see this. So then I'm going to go into Revision Village, and then here on the kind of like on the front landing page, let me get to that. It has actually all of the subjects. So let's just as an example, but we have here math and we also have physics, but let's just pick an example, math, the higher level. And then we have here the question bank. So that's all the topics organized by topic, all the parts of the syllabus organized by topic here in the question bank. So you can go to that. And then, you know, you pick a topic. So just picking one at random, maybe it's series and sequences here, just for an example. And then I click on that one, and then I've got easy, medium, and hard questions. And then I've also got a video solution. So it even will explain to you, it has a video explaining like how to do the question. And so that's very interesting and a good source for us to review our knowledge and learn. So that's a really good resource to use there and to help you to prepare. Then another thing to keep in mind is the formula book. Each IB class has its own formula book. Well, the maths, there's two different formula booklets, one for AA, which I think stands for like analysis and approaches. Now they're changing the formula booklets a little bit, so there is a higher level and a standard level one. So, but just keep in mind that every math class, including the physics classes, have their own formula booklet. So I have here, for example, a printed out version of the old physics one, and the students get to use that and have that in the exam. So it's their job to know the formula booklet and to know all the equations in it, which equations are there. We want to memorize as little as possible, or they want to memorize as little as possible for the IB exams. So having the formula booklet, knowing what's in it and knowing how to use it is a great resource. Then the graphing calculator. I have here an old one of a Texas Instruments TI-83. The students are now using a TI-84 in a lot of the schools. Each school decides which graphing calculator that they want to use. So some schools are on the Casio graphing calculator. I think that's what Oak House uses here in Barcelona. Other schools may use the HP. And the good thing is on the phone, there are apps which are like identical or very similar to the graphing calculator. So I have some links which I'll share with you to the app that's almost identical to the TI one, and there's apps for the HP and also for the Casio. Also on the computer online, you can also find emulators that the manufacturers of the graphing calculator have made, and it's a computer program which is identical to the graphing calculator itself. So for example, for AI maths in the IB program, you get to use calculators for both paper 1, 2, and 3. Only the higher level has paper 3. And so the students really need to become experts in the graphing calculator and need to know how to use that. And some of the graphing calculators can be tricky, so that we'll have questions about that. So make sure you review how to use the graphing calculator, how to do that, whether it's probability or graphing a function or whatever it is, and make sure that you dominate that as well and understand it well, because the students will ask you about it. If you have any questions, ask me. I've learned a lot of this from the graphing calculator, like just going on the internet. A lot of people post, thankfully, YouTube videos of like how to do this on this calculator, you know, how to graph a function on a TI-84 or whatever. And there's lots of good YouTube videos, and that's really how I've learned all of this. So keep the graphing calculator in mind. The papers, paper 1, 2, and 3, in the folders that I've prepared for you, well, I guess the first thing I'll say actually is the IB exams are in May of the second year of the IB program, and there will be papers 1 and 2, and if they're in the higher level, there will be paper 3. Each paper is a little bit different. So for example, in AA, HL, and SL, for paper 1, they cannot use the calculator. All the math has to be done by hand. And then in paper 2, they can use the calculator, and each exam has its own different kind of format. So we'll just go in now just to take a look at one of the folders that I've prepared. It's just a random one. So I'm going to go in here into math, and you have this folder. My Google Drive is linked to this, to these folders here. So yeah, I've gone into the AAHL, just randomly selecting one, and you'll see there's like general course, which has like the textbook and the formula book. There's the old examination session, because around every 6 or 7 years, the IB kind of updates their curriculum. And so there's like what this math used to be called. So you have a folder in here that is IB Math HL 2014 through 2020. So that's the old AAHL. So that can have some good resources as well. And then in here, I've got the folder which is past papers. So then when I open that, you'll see I go pasting them in, and I'm going to update them and just paste in the new ones as they come. I've got like May and November and these types of things. And then if I just click on May, and then you'll see there's paper 1s and paper 2s and paper 3s in here, and the mark scheme. The mark scheme is the answer sheet. And then you also see there's different time zones. The IB creates different time zone exams, because of course we can't have the people who live in Asia wake up in the morning, take the exam, and then later send that information about what's in the exam or these types of things over to like the Europeans or the Americans. So they have different time zones. So that's why you'll see like TZ1 for time zone 1, TZ2, these types of things. So the teachers in the schools need to be using IB exams for being able to put the predicted grade. The university student, or the students, get to apply to university based on their predicted grade. So the teachers give them past paper questions to kind of see how they're doing and then predict what IB score they're going to get. So it's very important that the teachers of the schools use IB exams to evaluate the students' performance. How would they do on those types of questions? But then also, that's kind of helps us, because then when we're helping to prepare the students, we need to be going over IB questions themselves, because hopefully that's what they're getting for their exams. The students who go to American School of Barcelona, a lot of times the teachers there use questions from Revision Village itself. So if you have a student that goes to ASB, it may be interesting to use more Revision Village questions, because the teachers have been using, particularly the math teachers, have been using those questions for their tests. But regardless, it's always good to go over IB questions and past paper questions with the students. You have my login and password to ExamMate as well, which is basically a question bank which has the IB exams organized by topic, as well as Revision Village also has the past papers as well with the video solutions. So both of those are good. Sometimes the students may not be able to do that hard of a question because the IB questions are harder. So then you'll have to start with the book level. So the textbook has questions that are nice and lighter and easier, and you can kind of work their way up into the past paper questions. So I normally start with the textbook if the student is struggling, and then I'll go into Revision Village, and Revision Village allows you to select the question based on difficulty level. So I'll start them out with an easy question, for example. So the IB exams are very important, and so you have all of those available here in the folder, as well as when we go into ExamMate, I have here ExamMate pulled up. And let me go to the landing screen. So this is ExamMate. And at the top it has topical past papers. So then I click on that. And then here it gives me this pull down. I'm going to go to, in this section here, I'm going to go to IB Diploma. And then over here, I'm going to select the course that I'm teaching. So maybe just as an example, I'll say Math AA, or if you wanted older questions, you could go to the Mathematics. But let's say I want newer ones, so Math AA. And then the level, I can choose between higher or standard. I will pick higher. And then I can pick my topic. Let's just say the students were working on series and sequences, for example. And then I can select my year. And so you can go through the different years, and then it will bring the questions up for you. So I just selected my year, and then I hit search. And now I've got my, well, I guess there's only one. They tend to only put one per year. So here's that question from that particular year for that particular IB exam. Okay, then what I like to do in a lot of my classes is use these resources with the students, and I have the student open their laptop, and then I send them the questions. So a lot of times I like to use Revision Village myself, just because it has the video explanation, the mark schemes, all nice and laid out, and a lot of the work is done for me, because I'll do 6 or 7 hours of class in a row, one right after the other. So if I have to think through every class, it gets quite tiring and difficult to do. So I like to use Revision Village because it really makes it easier on me, and I get to think less, and that way I'm not so tired when it comes to the end of the day. So a lot of times, so what I do with my students is either a Google document, or I pass them on WhatsApp desktop. So we'll pretend I'm in a class, for example, and then I would go to the internet, and I would open up a Google Doc. Let's turn my screen to where we can see that. And then I have a Google Doc here. And so the students, they won't see my screen. They just have their laptop open in front of them, and maybe I'm sitting across the table or something like that, and they don't see me or see what's on my screen. And so then I would come over here into Revision Village. So this question is fine. So let's say we're working on series and sequences. And so then I'm going to hit the buttons Windows Shift S. Oops, no, I hit the wrong button. Let's try that again. Windows Shift S, there we go. And now it's going to allow me to take a screenshot of just a portion of my screen. So I'm just going to screenshot that question. Then I'm going to go over to my Google document that I've shared. I have the share button here, and I've shared it with the student, and then I paste that in. And then now they see this. They only see the question, and they have to resolve it, and they have to work on it. And then I myself have Revision Village on my screen, and so I'm seeing the answer and even the video solution if I need. Maybe I'll turn my sound off if I'm watching the video solution. And so that's really a good resource. Whenever we're working with the students, it's always best to have the mark scheme or the answers in front of you. That way you never get the wrong answer, because if you get the wrong answer, sometimes the students get the wrong idea, like we don't know math, or we don't know physics, or we don't know what we're doing. And that's not true. We're human, and we sometimes make mistakes as well. So it's always good to have that mark scheme in front of you, because then you're always guaranteed to get the right answer. So that's one tactic I use, pasting the questions into a Google Doc, which I have shared with them. You can also paste them via WhatsApp desktop, is another option if you don't want to do the Google document. And then the students also have Google Classroom. I'm going to open one of those. Okay. So all of the international schools here use Google Classroom. So basically the teachers in the schools post all their assignments, when the tests are, all the exercises, everything they're doing into Google Classroom. And here they'll have the exercises and the questions and often the answers. So a lot of times I'll ask my students for their login and password to the Google Classroom. That's how I have this one. Or if the student doesn't want to give you that, that's fine. Just know that this is available and they can download the questions and the answers and send them to you. So I often have them do that. Or sometimes the teachers at the schools share the exercises with the student in a Google Doc format, in which the students can make a copy and then send it to you. So that's very interesting as well. So for example, with this particular student, their math class is here, for example. And then the teacher has posted all of the things that they're working on, which are here in all the worksheets. So if the student wants to go over one of these, have them send you the worksheet and the answers. That way you always have the answers in front of you and you're always getting the right answer to the question. Then, if you are doing a class in the online format, if you're doing an online class, you always want to have a tablet with you to use as a digital whiteboard. If you don't have one, let me know. I have an old extra spare one that I can lend you. I have mine here. There are many free digital whiteboard programs. I use one that's called Lucid, Lucid. It's okay, but there's many others you can use. You don't have to use that one. This is just one I happen to find. You can go onto Google, and I searched free digital whiteboard, and it was like the first thing that came up. It seems to work okay. And then I write all my equations. You can see I've got my equations with that last student I was working with here already. And it allows me to share the whiteboard. So there's the share button, which is in the top right corner. And when I click on that, if I hit share, then it brings this up and it allows me to copy link. So then I copy the link, and now it's been copied. And now I can, on the same tablet, go to my email, which is here. And so then I just open my email and I can paste that link. I can write an email. And I can paste that link right in to the email and then send it over to the student. So that way they're able to log in to the digital whiteboard and see the equations as I'm writing them in real time. So that's very interesting. If you're giving an online class, I feel like a digital whiteboard is 100% mandatory, especially if it's math or physics. That's really helpful. Then also, when I'm giving my online classes, I often use Google Meets. Zoom has a time limit, and so it cuts you off after 40 minutes, which we normally give an hour or 1 hour class minimum or more. So you want to use Google Meets. I find that to be the best. And I always plug in and wear my headphones. This is because it improves the audio quality, but more importantly, it allows me to watch the videos on Revision Village at the same time that I'm giving the class, and they don't hear it, so it doesn't distract from the class. So do always have your headphones and plug them into your laptop when you're giving the class. And I'll normally share actually I don't normally share my screen. I just have them sign into the Google document where I'm pasting the questions, and then we work from there, or they, with their pen and paper, they're at home writing the answers, And I, of course, have my revision village open that I'm listening to make sure that I understand how to solve it the most efficiently and fastly. And then there's a microphone in my headphones, so my audio quality is much better, and they don't hear too much of what's going on around me if I happen to be in a cafe or a library where I've connected online. So that's very good as well. And that should be everything. Let me know if you have any other questions or doubts, and I hope the classes go well for you. Thank you.